Alright guys, TacticalRab again, so I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. 2 titanic battles in the CDL this evening with some real top quality Call of Duty being shown on display. But to be fair, some big important storylines and major implications from those games, but also certainly on the Toronto Ultra side, they come out with effectively a teaser for their podcast they're going to be bringing out over the coming days, with some rather interesting words from Scrappy on the way that OpTic reacted to that whole drama a couple of days ago. From on Twitter, your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, this is from Real. Here is his Heretics jersey with the Real kind of, well, name on it. And as he says, eyes emoji, soon emoji. So let's see what Heretics do. They play tomorrow up against the Minnesota Rocker. Pretty sure they need to 3-0 Minnesota tomorrow to have a chance to get to the winner's bracket for the major because their map count is so bad. A 3-0 gives them a chance. Anything less, I don't think they're going to be able to make it. I'm convinced that when Real gets to the States, they will put him in. Whether that's for Erik, whether that's for whoever, I don't even know at this point. They could do something. They might change out that role again. I feel like they will. But to be fair, their series against Ravens last weekend was very impressive. So maybe they don't need him, but I feel like they will need him at some point. So Real is trying to get out there. I simply don't know the time frame on this. He obviously struggled with a visa when he was on Ravens. Surely they've got to get it sorted soon. I'm guessing after the major, at least they've got him his jersey, and he does say soon, so kind of like at least feels confident this is going to happen at some point in the near future. This I thought was also pretty wild today that was going around, that Delco Gaming have confirmed their X-Defiant roster for X-Defiant, although that game is not yet out. We don't know when it's coming out. It's been massively delayed. Yes, it will have something of a competitive scene. Are these guys even going to be good at the game? I don't know. Does the organization know? I don't know either. But they've made an organization for, well, not made an organization, they've made a team for X-Defiant, and they've officially announced their roster, which I thought was pretty wild to me because the game hasn't even launched yet. But I'm not going to lie, on today's evidence, there might be a couple of players there that should be somewhat scared for their spot, because there could be some ex-CDL players in the near future coming into this spot, because like some of the performances today were pretty shocking, and I guess we'd better dive into some of them. So here we go, Vegas Legion versus the Seattle Surge. And I thought Surge were bad, and they are bad, but man, this was different level. Vegas, though, again, I was more impressed by Thieves when they beat Vegas the other day than I was massively disappointed by Vegas. They still have their flaws, but I'm not going to lie, Geo and Purj, as the 2 rookies of this team now, if this team does well at the major, and I was even thinking this a couple of weeks ago, but if this team does well at the major, given the progress they've made, and yes, they beat a dreadful Seattle Surge team today, but hear me out here. If Geo and Purj do well at the major, and Vegas make a bit of a run to top 6 or even better, they might be leading the rookie ladder of the year. They might not be quite there. Like, I think Linz and Gwyn on an individual level have been better, although Geo might, you know, kind of challenge that claim with the individual performances he's been putting up. But if Ravens continue to struggle, and if Rocker continue to regress in terms of results, like if Rocker gets slammed out in the major top 12 or something, and Vegas plays well, that Rookie of the Year question genuinely at some point might switch to these guys on the Vegas Legion, which is such an interesting storyline for the season to keep your eyes on. This was another moment here where Attached pops a ridiculous 3-piece here in this moment, and honestly, I feel bad for Hook, and I feel bad for aBeZy, and I feel kind of bad for aBeZy getting thrown into this mess, because the team is a shambles, it's a complete joke, and sure, Vegas did well, and Purj was fine, and look, Purj Asim has turned into, like, you know, Purj Al game, or whatever people are saying about, like, the whole Lissan Al game meme that's been going around, because, you know, as it was written, this guy comes up with the Masterclass series. If you let Purj, like, look, I think Purj has done a very good job, but if you let Purj drop a 1.3 on your head, based on the evidence so far this season, that is indicative that it's time to absolutely blow it up, right? And Hook has been their best player, I would say, since Ilya's departed. Hook has been trying his best, man, and this is what frustrates me watching this team. Yes, Hook ran in here. He missed all these shots and he gets spun on by Nero. But he did drop like 11 kills this map for the win. And every time we went to a moment during a control round or an S&D rounds, this is what we saw. Hook looked dialed in. We don't know what's going on with aBeZy. Vegas have the energy, right? And this team has talent. Nero, Geo, Attach, all talented players. Purj is talented as well. I don't want to take anything away from Purj. Yes, he was getting roasted at the start of the season, but genuinely Purj has come on a lot since running the SMG. And it's great to see, like, he's a Challengers World Champion for a reason, right? This guy isn't some bum they've dragged off the streets. He had a bad start to the season, they stuck by him, and it's actually working out. And it is just fantastic. It's such a good storyline to witness. And the Vegas guys bring the energy. They know what it's all about. Purj knows that, yes, he's been getting all this criticism, but he knows what he's capable of. He's going to keep grinding. Surge are not that team at all. Every time we went to this situation, Nastie was looking at the ground, head down, just giving up. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, are we serious right now? Are we not getting paid to play COD on apparently this type of level? Do you not owe it to some degree to the fans out there, the guys that are paying you the money, your coach to actually give it a go? I mean, come on, are we serious? And even aBeZy, he's probably the guy that I feel most bad for, because aBeZy was dominating challenges last year on the AR, on the Away Bob's team. He comes in to the Seattle Surge, theoretically a pretty good team. They looked good at the start of the game. eLLi, of course, then gets benched for various reasons that, you know, we've obviously discussed in some depth in the past. And now aBeZy is on this team that seems to have completely given up. He was forced into a role that he didn't even want to play in the first place. And now he's probably going to get, after this tragic season, slammed back down to challenges again. I don't think he deserves it at all. I think that aBeZy definitely deserves a better shot and a fairer shot than he's seen so far this season. But honestly, if on this evidence aBeZy goes to challenges, Nastie gets another league spot, I will be mind blown. And surely that's not going to happen, right? Nastie even is almost admitting this himself based on what we'll see here in a second. This was the control, by the way. Watching Surge try and win an offensive control round on Invasion was just so painful. And Arcetes, this guy's just playing for kills. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. Hook is at least trying. He's trying to make plays. He's getting in the action. Everyone else is baiting Hook effectively. Arcetes is just playing for his KD, I'm convinced. Maybe not always, but come on, watch that series back and tell me that it wasn't. And maybe you can argue the same for Attach sometimes, because, you know, there's questions on the way that Attach plays the game. But it's not like he isn't delivering the numbers. And have a look at this. Geo, 33 in 25. Purj, 31 in 17 on 6 spree. Guy was crushing it. The Purj part 2, here he goes, like, just dominated the series as eventually he did. And as they close it out in 4 in the end, you know, hey Surge, you got Purj. I mean, look at this scoreline over the series. You know, remarkable stuff and just great to see. This, another one, I mean, have a look at the close-up of this, right? When we've got Geo here, just absolutely spinning on everyone. And he gets a 3-piece here, gets the first, spins on aBeZy, jumps on top of this and completely 180s Arcetes. That was, I've got to share that again. I mean, we don't get his POV, unfortunately, but I don't know what he did to Arcetes it. Maybe Arcetes is reloading, but it looks spectacular. And they just dominated the Rio, and they won the series emphatically. They play Carolina, do Vegas to close things out. Carolina first match of tomorrow. And, you know, as Decimate says, eLLi might have been Thanos, right? Because, let's be real, ever since eLLi left, this team has been tragic. They've been absolutely awful. I'm surprised they've got any points, I'm not going to lie, since then. I'm pretty sure they beat, what, LAG, didn't they? Was that the only team they beat? And they ain't any good either. So it's not great. And even Arcetes tweets this out. Checked out, man. So he's like, I mean, come on, he's just admitting it. He's admitting that he's just lost the passion. He's lost the energy. He's lost the fire. He's lost the drive to compete on this level. I don't know. But it's just such a bad team. I feel bad for a lot of the guys involved in that. I don't feel bad for other guys involved in that. I knew this team wasn't going to work. I don't know that eLLi obviously stepping away for various reasons has obviously not helped them, but yeah, it is just an absolute embarrassment, to be honest, the Seattle Surge right now, and I don't want to watch any more of their series. They unfortunately play one more time later on this weekend. Attached with a 1.25, Purj with a 1.3, and this is what Nero must be loving life. He didn't have a great series. And he is going to be an inconsistent player. But the question that I had was like, okay, if Nero's inconsistent and doesn't really slay hard, drops only 55 kills this series, at least in the lobby, can the other guys pick up the slack? Geo and Purj can absolutely pick up the slack at the moment, and it's a great storyline. Before we discuss Thieves versus Gorillas, though, I've got to mention what Scrappy had to say about all this drama. So the other day, guys might have seen this, when Toronto tweeted out coming soon, and effectively their rendition of the OpTic Game Chat podcast. Now, it's not necessarily like OpTic were the first to do this anyway. Los Angeles Thieves, even back in Cold War, they would quite often do videos that weren't quite like this, but they were somewhat similar with all of the COD team. It's a pretty simple idea. Sit down with the COD team, have them discuss contemporary issues in the space, have them vibe for 45 minutes, chuck it up on the YouTube. Fantastic stuff. But OpTic were basically taking the mick out of them, and there were quite a lot of OpTic fans saying, well, you know, OpTic invented this concept, which, yeah, whatever, right? I don't really know why people get so riled up about this stuff. It's just good content and better for the scene in general. But there was some debate back and forth. Some people were having a laugh with it. Some people, it seems, were kind of serious, and Toronto were obviously joking around as a result. So they come out with a video on this. It's not the full episode yet, but they have a kind of a behind-the-scenes view at their facility. And there's a couple of clips here where Scrappy's actually mentioning this specific moment. They get rather spicy.
I feel like my acting's come a long way from my first ever video in Ultra. They love it that much, they keep coming back for more. Even though I practice, jeez, do it again, start again. Even though a lot of my time is, this is where I practice hand-eye coordination. Even though I spend a lot of my time behind a monitor. Next time. Use your backhand.
He's laughing while saying it. Like,
Sean,
I mean, I think you could have done pretty well, but
Yeah, Jamie's carrying us through the content. Shout out Jamie. But I had to show up in the business suit, you know. I had to pitch. It's out the window. No one liked it, so.
someone that makes people smell like good.
Yeah.
Not dog shit.
Land after party spray.
But yeah, shout out Jamie Craven. Guy carried us through the lines, made it quick.
And today you guys finally got your own podcast started up after what seems like 3 years of trying to get it started up. We finally got on board.
Yeah, we're now crucified. Obviously, you know, OpTic created podcasting about 3 generations ago. So, you know, might have to be giving up some revenue towards them.
I think it's just cool as well, just for the fans and stuff. It's actually like the actual, excuse the pun, the insight that people want to see. Like, just us sat there bullshitting about how events are going, how online stages are going.
So I definitely think setting things up rather well there for potentially a Toronto OpTic rematch, right? Because of course they did play online very recently. OpTic got the victory in 5, and now there's all this kind of, you know, off-server drama, as it were, over the content stuff. Looking forward to when the full episode comes out as well. Definitely will be giving that one a listen, because if there was some good juice in here, just for the couple of minutes of clips that we saw, there certainly will be when that episode launches, I feel well imagine. So I think it's just great stuff in general. Every team, at least every team that has a facility, should be doing this. I understand if you don't have a facility, your players are playing remotely, probably it's not going to be the vibiest podcast, is it? But if you've got a facility, if all your players are there in person, you should absolutely be executing stuff like this, because it's just such a no-brainer. It's a win for everybody. And obviously Scrappy's just joking around when he says that, you know, there needs to be some sort of kickback going OpTic's way for inventing the whole podcast idea. Final game of a very fast day was Thieves versus the Los Angeles Guerrillas, a series where Guerrillas have won historically 7 of the 8 times they have played for some reason. This time I felt that it was going to be a different story. Guerrillas' map count to this stage is tragic. They were 3-15, I believe. Thieves have clearly made some steps of progress in the right direction. And can you believe it? They actually won a couple of hardpoints. This was their bane of their existence at the start of the season. They won the game on hardpoints. They did, however, get completely slammed on the terminal search and destroy. Gotta say, a couple of searches that Thieves won on terminal so far this stage were not impressive terminal search victories. So I feel like they're definitely vulnerable on this map. They won it like round 11 against Miami, I'm pretty sure, but they looked a bit suspect. That was shown up here. Assault had a great map here, by the way, as well. Sure, they win the search and destroy, but that doesn't matter if you're terrible in the respawn modes. And yeah, I talked about Surge being bad. Guerrillas are just also terrible, but I don't feel like they're not as embarrassing as Surge are. Like, Surge is just an embarrassment when you watch, like, those guys play, I'm not gonna lie. Guerrillas at least try and put up a fight, I feel. They at least look like they're trying a little bit more than Surge do. That's just my observation. You guys might disagree. But anyway, the control happens on the high rise, a 3-1 in the ends. Thieves close out a final offense. Afro and Ghosty had great maps, actually. It was good to see Afro play well in some of the respawns here, because that's been a big question for him. We know that his search and destroy is his best mode, but there were questions the other day. If Afro can't turn it around at the respawns, he's got to go, because Crump turned up in the most recent series they played. Afro today, though, played very well, and it was funny, right? I was watching this final map of the series, and Thieves were, it was like a tie game, 100 to 100 on the sub base, and then they went P5, P1, P2, and they were just ahead by like so much. This is what the better teams do. There actually is, can you believe it, some synergy, some chemistry on that Los Angeles Thieves team now. They actually seem to enjoy playing with each other. And maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that you bring Nastie in alongside Afro. Afro's more comfortable. You know, Nastie's playing well as well, and Kremp has been doing his job. Ghosty's an absolute, you know, he's a star, I would say, certainly, of the league as it stands. And Thieves now find themselves in a pretty nice spot. They won both hardpoints this series. Yes, they just played the worst team in the league, so maybe don't read too much into it, but it was impressive nonetheless, and they will bring some confidence into Toronto that they are playing to try and get one of the top seeds, because if they beat Toronto tomorrow, Toronto end up 4-3, and you know, Los Angeles Thieves, their record is far from bad either. They're now 4-2, so they could even go 5-2 with a victory against Toronto. These are the numbers. Afro with a 1.2, Ghosty with a 1.2, Nastie just about positive, Crimp in the slight negatives. And apart from assaults, decent performance, especially in the search and destroy, not much to be said on the other side of the stage. So very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.